and welcome back to another Scare-uary episode. I'm Avery, and I'm Lucy, and we are continuing looking through the HBOMax's lineup of horror movies. Today, we're taking a look at The Astronaut's Wife. It was a bit of an unusual choice, but I was kind of intrigued because we like space things, so why not some space horror? Yeah, and I'll admit, this movie was really odd from the beginning. It kind of felt a little bit like a romantic drama in about the first 5-ish minutes or so, but they kind of throw you way off the deep end. You got sort of your stereotypical astronaut romance stuff, and then the moment the astronauts go into space, things get bananas. And I was surprised. I wasn't really scared at all, but I had an overall feeling of being unsettled during this whole movie. And usually I don't feel unsettled, so that was kind of interesting to experience. So this is a movie I wasn't aware even existed. The basic storyline is, obviously there's an astronaut's wife. Her husband goes to space for standard satellite procedure. Something happens. NASA loses contact with her husband and another astronaut for about 2 minutes, or was it 2 seconds? I think it was 2 minutes. Yeah, but they lose contact, they get them back down, and then things are slightly different. And it's kind of up to the wife to figure out what happened during that missing time. And more importantly, is it aliens? Aliens. It's always aliens. That's the answer. If it's horror and in space, it's always aliens. But like Lucy said, I felt very unsettled during this whole thing. This is a very grown-up movie. There's very subtle nuances between the astronaut and his wife. Lots of sexy times near the beginning because the wife gets pregnant with twins, which is apparently a part of the aliens' plan. So yes, aliens are involved, and it has something to do with making the astronaut wives pregnant with twins. That's about all the details we get. The purpose behind why the aliens are doing what they're doing is pretty vague. Yeah, the main story itself is focusing on whether figuring out something is off with the husband or not. And then once you do figure that out, there's only 10 minutes or 15 minutes of movie left? Yeah. So we never really learned the purpose that the aliens have for doing this. All we know is that they're there, they showed up, and they took over the astronauts' bodies. But we can kind of tell the aliens don't seem to have very good intentions because they do not treat the wives of the astronauts very well. Yeah, you have the first wife commit suicide near the beginning once she figures out what's going on. And then our main character, astronaut's wife, once she goes kind of through this whole intense journey trying to figure out what's going on and what's wrong with her husband, she reaches the point too where she's either going to end herself or end the alien creature inside of her husband. So it gets pretty intense. Oh yeah, and Rhodey's in this. Huh? What? You know, Rhodey from Marvel, Avengers. Oh, that's why his face looked so familiar. Yeah, in this movie he's kind of this guy that works for NASA, and the only one that notices something is wrong and doesn't want to brush it under the rug, so then NASA fires him, and he's kind of like the in the shadows, you need to come to me if you want to know the truth sort of guy. But yeah, that was Rhodey. That is so weird to think about. How come both of our two Scare-uaries involve actors that we know better for other things? It's the way of the world, Avery. The way of the world. So yeah, the whole film, it's slightly artsy, you would say. Yeah, they seem like they try to get a little creative with some of their shots and are trying to make it a little more artistic compared to other films. And it's not like an outright horror. We don't really see any body horror scenes, well, with the exception of the suicides, because that can be triggering. Yeah, it's sort of old-fashioned, old-styled suicide with electrocution and radios that don't exist anymore because technology is too advanced now. But that was probably the most disturbing parts in terms of what you visually see. Yeah, so if you get triggered by seeing suicide attempts, you would definitely want to skip over the scene where the first wife kills herself to try and get rid of the aliens inside of her. But other than that, it was more of a subtle film, not really in your face with the horror techniques. It portrayed a lot more. It said it was kind of a thriller, but it was still listed under the horror category. I could see it as a horror. It's not in your face, but it is very unsettling. Yeah, and that unsettling feeling kind of sticks with you throughout the whole movie. Near the beginning, before the astronaut goes to space, it all seems, very calm, very docile, almost kind of like you walked into the wrong movie. But then once they go into space and the event happens where the aliens invade the astronauts, then that whole unsettling feeling stays pretty much all the way until the end of the movie. So that overall unsettling feeling kind of gives the whole atmosphere of the movie, and I think they handled that very well. Yeah, I would say most of that was due to the composition of the music. Oh yeah, the music definitely held most of the unsettling feeling in this whole movie. It definitely enhanced a lot of the moments. The cinematography was pretty interesting too, but yeah, the music was definitely the biggest part with the unsettling. And then the acting as well, I'd say, was second to that. So the combination of the two together worked really well in this. Just to hold that unease for the whole period length of the movie. You don't get much of that very often. It was kind of a nice difference. Yeah, a little bit more of a slower paced movie, but unsettling, which, like you said, isn't something we see very often anymore. So it was a nice difference. Yeah, very nice, very smooth. But we still never found out what the aliens wanted. What was the whole point? I wanted answers and I never got them. I guess you'll have to watch a different alien movie for that. So if you're one that doesn't really like jump scare in your face horror movies and likes more of the subtle uneasiness that crawls into your insides as you watch a movie, The Astronaut's Wife would definitely be one to check out. Even if you're into, all of these space horror kind of things like Alien and Predator and Alien. Alien's kind of the big one. Yeah, Alien is the biggest one. But if you're into any of those, you would definitely want to check this one out as well. It's just a different take on the space horror genre, but it's still very good. Still holds up pretty well. And that is it for this short review. So if you liked it, make sure to put a pause up and press that like button. Yep, and as we mentioned, all of this year of Scare-uary, that's going to be through January and February. We are covering movies we find on HBOMax's horror section. So if you've got HBOMax at home and have a movie that you want to recommend for us to watch from there, go ahead and comment below, because there is a whole lot of movies on there. That's right, we're talking whole franchises listed on there. All of them. Well, almost all of them. Some of them it's just the sequels, and then some of them it's all of them. It's kind of a weird pick and choose. The point is, there's a lot of horror content on HBOMax, and it's hard to make a decision of what we want to watch. So feel free to help us out and comment suggestions below. And we will see you in the next video. Haha! Yes, we shall see all ye scallywags later. You want to go stare at a wall in absolute silence? Actually, yeah, that sounds kind of nice.